Welcome, Leo, to your May Moon Magic 1 month forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. The moon is very much about our emotional responses, how we feel, anything to do with our inner world, but also our sense of security, where we live, and also our family connections too. And May has 5 key lunations, including 2 quarter moons. I'm going to unpack the whole month from a lunar perspective, Leo, but also bring in Mars, which is probably beyond the moon, the most influential player all month. By the end of the video, you'll have a much clearer understanding of what's in store for you in terms of your energy, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So as we come into this new month, Leo, we have that potent Scorpio flower full moon. The moon in Scorpio is where its energies are particularly intense. The moon is not at its best in Scorpio, can be a bit secretive, but because the sun for you is right at the top of your chart, he's pushing you to seize a claim, to go for the things that define your talents, whether it's professionally or otherwise. So it's a great time to set goals. It just may be that your inner world is throwing up some doubts, or maybe it is to do with your practical circumstances, childcare, looking after older relatives, and so on. But dissecting the position of the sun and the moon was Pluto. And Pluto, for you, for many years to come, is going to be really urging you to evolve around all sorts of relationships. So it's possible that trying to find that work-life balance, which is really what a Scorpio full moon is about for you personally, may depend in some degree to your connections to others. So is someone you work or live with supportive, understanding, or not? If they're not, it may have thrown up a tenderness as you've come into the month. Now, as we go into the month, Mercury, the communicator in the fiery Aries, is in a conjunction with Chiron. So, one of the things you can do, if you are feeling inhibited around your career hopes or ambitions and goals, is to work hard on your thinking and to release yourself from any self limiting thoughts. Mercury in the ninth house is about knowledge. So, the more you read or study, the more you can move forwards in a dynamic way. But Mars, the ruler of the sign of Aries, is in a square with Jupiter. And that goes through the first 10 days of this month. And as I mentioned, Mars is very powerful. So, as much as the moon is about how we feel, Mars is about thrust, action. It's a much more masculine energy. But that ninth house energy to the 12th house energy of Jupiter suggests not rushing into things too much, because that could, for you personally, make you perhaps a little impetuous to overcome any blockages that you feel are there. Now, in terms of the romantic dimension, if that's not your issue, there is a lovely link between Saturn and Venus. And that could mean that if you and your partner are well aligned, that's not what you're trying to balance. It may perhaps be that you're working in an environment which is not very supportive, you don't like the atmosphere, perhaps they're not very understanding in the way that you need. So that's possible as we come into the month. But that takes us through to the first of those 2 quarter moons. So quarter moons is when the sun and the moon are squaring, and for you it occurs in your sector of relationships. So that professional relationship that may have shown up with that lack of feeling the simpatico with colleagues could be amplified more from the quarter moon. The difference here is that maybe you're feeling a bit more in the mood to assert your needs. One of the reasons for this is that Mars and Jupiter are still in the square, but what you do have now is the energy of the moon in Aquarius can be quite rebellious. So if you feel that you need to mark out your territory more, be more assertive on your boundaries, the moon will definitely help you to do that. You can also see that Mercury now in the sign of Taurus in the third, which may have helped clarity to some degree from them, that's going to merge with the sun right at the heart of this month in the Kazemi. So do have confidence that clarity can come forwards as far as those professional situations are concerned. But one of the things I do like about the Aquarius quarter moon is that Venus is starting to inch forwards in the flirty Gemini and is going to be coming into a lovely sextile with Mars by the time of the mid-month super new moon in Taurus. So if you are getting to know somebody new, it could be showing some exciting prospects. But that brings us to that Taurus super new moon. Now, just to say the moon loves being in Taurus. It's known as being exalted. So we started the month with the moon in one of her weakest locations. Now she's in one of her best. And if you're really wanting to make progress around that career, work, or personal interests that are very important to you, these guys are now in the third decan of Taurus. They're exalted, but that's subruled by Saturn. So that means you mean business. So if someone has been inhibiting your progress, you're going to be really up for taking on the challenge. But further, Mercury is very close to them. So I feel that you get an amplification in the quickness of your thinking, which really will help. But look at Venus and Mars. They're now in that almost perfect sextile. So by the time mid-month comes, even if your work situation does seem to be heading forwards, uh, I also feel that your romantic or social situation can be picking up too. But just look at the position of Jupiter, still in that 12th house until he moves into your sign at the start of July, but in a brilliant link with the moon and the sun, that sextile. So some of the things you're doing behind the scenes, which may be subtle, could be research, could be getting in contact with old colleagues, uh, maybe taking soundings, that can have an impact in a fortunate way around your professional prospects. But let's now fast forward to the second of the quarter moons. The sun moves on the 21st into Gemini, which brings a more social dimension into play for you personally, Leo, but also we almost immediately have a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini for the first time in 77 years. And you could really feel an electric spark in this latter part of the month. It's just that both Mars and Venus have moved into new homes, but they're still in touch in a very productive way. But Mars is now in your 10th house, which is really going to help you to be much more self-confident than perhaps you felt right at the start of the month. And if there are obstacles professionally, that natural aura of authority that you have, and certainly personality power, is going to be amped up. So what's not to like? Well, when it comes to a relationship which is not going so well, even if you're determined to have your voice heard, because of the square with Pluto, that could mean that the last 10 days of this month can see a very tense standoff, not least because the Sun and Uranus are in a square, of course, with the quarter moon in Virgo, but Uranus is in the mix as well. So that could see some sudden changes of plan. It may be around a friendship or social situation, but it may be around finances. So you need to be a little bit on your toes towards the end of the month in order to be ready for that. Which brings us to that blue moon. Why do we have blue moons? Every 2.7 years, each lunar cycle is about just over 29 days. If you add them all up, just goes over 365 days. So we get an accumulative period, and then we get that extra full moon, because usually it's just 12. So the blue moon for you is in the sign of Sagittarius, which of course shares your fire to Christine. So on the face of it, it's social, interactive, can be about your love life, or it can be about life's pleasures. The sun, on the other hand, very much more to do with your future plans, your connections, and your social circle. So how does that play out for you? Well, I felt that you may have some choices at the end of this month, and maybe they're professional because Mars, as again, very influential this month, still in that square with Pluto, is actually in a quincunx with the moon. So something that you feel passionately about may preoccupy your attention towards the end of this month. If Mars wasn't in the mix, I think the chances are you would be very focused on your social situation, but I think you may be more attuned to what's going on around those ambitions, your goals, or your work, but particularly where you gain pleasure and enjoyment from what you do. And that might be where you have a big decision to make. Just to say, Leo, I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now three for the price of one. You pay for your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that are played out so far, but get a more intimate understanding of them and work with those energies future forwards that much better. Free, you get your 12 months transit forecast and also your draconic soul karmic analysis. Three for the price of one. Please see below for more. Why? I've been full-time for 30 years, but my interest in astrology came through when I was 14. The first classical album I ever got was The Planets, which is about astrology, not astronomy. And ever since then, it's been a major part of my life. Natal astrology helps us to really navigate this particular journey that much better. By sharing the love about natal astrology, I hope to help others too. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your May monthly forecast, please see that on the screen. Yet to watch your Pluto retrograde 5-month forecast on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, please do so now. You can download your free moon guide, which shares the mythology, the astronomy, and the astrology underneath this video. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Have a great May and look forward to seeing you again soon.